How did you get involved
Yeah.
with behavioral science?
I lucked into it. I fell into it in a cool way. One of the professors that I was working with when I was finishing university, I was taking a teaching class and I wanted to go in and learn how to teach. And then of course, because I was into theater, I was like, well, I'll take a class that teaches theater. That'll be cool. And the professor that I was working with, his main job was working in the world of behavioral science, and it was very much at the frontier at that time. And science hadn't caught up with it yet in the world of like being able to prove the theories that there were out there. So the stuff that he was doing seemed like magic. It was like almost like a mentalist. I was like, wow, like you mean if you do this, that'll cause this, and then people will then, I was like, this is amazing. And so I really, I surrounded myself in his world and really dove into that world with him. And he just because he was on the frontier edge, he had some of these wild clients, like amazing clients that I would have never had access to, that early on. And like again, like special forces teams, Fortune 100 companies, the people that were really paying attention to this because they knew it worked. Um, and there was very few people that were working in that world, especially the applied side. So I stayed with him and worked with him and trained. And the question was always like, do I go back in university and get masters and doctorates and things like that? And I was like, no, they're not teaching this in university. They're still trying to figure out how to map it and that kind of stuff. And like you said, only in the last 5-10 years of has the science caught up, which is exciting for me because it's caught up to be able to do the studies, to do the scans, to do all of the pieces that are backing up what we've been doing for the previous, 20, 30 years, to say that it works not just because we've been doing it, but because here it is in the brain. Here's the proof that we need as human beings to back it up. So yeah, I started early and just kept going with it and evolving as it evolved and my clients' needs evolved and kept going that way.
So I guess a lot of our audience who are watching this are small to medium enterprises, right? And if I'm them sat in the audience watching this, I'd be thinking, well, that's all well and interesting. And if I had lots and lots of money to throw around, then I'd definitely be getting involved in behavioral science. But what does this mean to me? And I think what I think you'd be able to share with the audience is just how accessible behavioral science is in this day and age for any size business, not just the larger enterprises who can afford consultants and entire teams of scientists and researchers. How does a small to medium enterprise start to understand behavioral science enough to be dangerous with it, in your opinion?
The world now that it's accepting it, it's understanding it. It's not a pseudoscience anymore, and it's. I think small businesses, medium-sized businesses have the advantage. They're nimble. They can take and learn the practices and put them in play right away and beta test them and see what's happening and that kind of thing. Like they can move really quickly. Whereas a lot of the clients that I have, there's a huge ramp of adoption and things that have to go through and that kind of stuff. So don't let the fact that that I'm working with really large companies or that you see those kind of people adopting it scare you. It's great that they're doing it, but really you have the advantage as the smaller guy getting into the field, and the advantage too, where like you can pick up some books, you can do some YouTube searches, you can do some research on your own, and you don't have to have a super expensive consultant and shape your whole thing to get started. You can get in there and start understanding why we do what we do and how that works and understanding biases and heuristics and all of those different pieces that have big words. But essentially, it's just why the hell do we make the choices that we make? They don't make any sense. They're not logical. How do I navigate that? Right. And that's really what behavioral science is trying to make sense of the fact that we think we're rational, but we're not. So how do we do that? How do we live in that world? And small businesses, yeah, they're the ones that can really benefit from this because, like I said, they can play with little things, little tweaks here, little ideas and concepts, and put them right into play.
So should they approach it from a business perspective or from almost a scientific perspective, in your opinion? Should they be putting a hypothesis first and then testing that out?
I'm not sure if it's a prescribed way to do it because it's up to the person. right? And again, everything that, and you're going to see that with a lot of behavioral science, is like, it's about the human. Like it's not blanket all the way across, right? We're all so complex and everything else. So that while it may seem political and wishy-washy, what I'm saying is like, it depends on you, who you are. But the point is that what side of it interests you, right? Like, is it the deep scientific side? Cool, get into it. You know what I mean? If it is the like play and do something first and then experience it later, if that's what interests you, you've got to go with what your passion is. Myself, I like the blend of both, right? Like I get in there and I think, okay, here's my idea. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. Now, what's some of the science that can support that or help me shape that? Get into that, and then I'm like, okay, I've got this little pile of mess here. I'm gonna let's try it. Throw it out there, and you pay attention to what the results are, right? And you run your own little experiments on what you do. So yeah, there's no right way to attack it. The right way to attack it is just to attack it. Get in there, get messy with it, and start playing with it. Listen to podcasts, listen to people who've done it. There's some fantastic thought leaders out there. Just get into it. It's really cool. And as we've talked before, it's up and coming for a long time up and coming, but it's starting to gain some serious weight now because people are paying attention to how incredibly beneficial it is.